everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I thought I'd show you how I'm going to get the inner bearing off of the pinion shaft of the rear differential. Unlike other cars, other differentials, a lot of cars are adjusted, the pinion depth's adjusted by shims underneath the inner bearing race, but that's not the case on this Mercedes. The shim is underneath the race itself inside the body of the differential, which can make it tricky because if you have to change, you have to take it in and out. But then again, the positive side from what I see is that once you set the inner bearing on the pinion shaft, it doesn't have to come off again. Unlike other cars where it has to come on and off to adjust, these don't. Okay, this is the pinion off of the 6.3 with no bearing on it. I've already taken it off, so I'm going to show you how to press one back on again, and a couple of different ways people do it. I think they all work pretty much, but so let me show you over to the press and I'll show you how we'll press the bearing back on and a few other options for putting it back on, and then we'll take it off again and I'll show you how I did that. Now this is a 20-ton press that I picked up. It doesn't have to be a fancy one, and this was relatively inexpensive, just under $200 on sale. And if you're doing a lot of this work, it's probably worth picking one up, and even if for one or two jobs, and then selling it on after you're done with it. That's what I think. But anyway, so basically I got a piece of wood here. I should have cut this down, but this will do for the demo purposes. And this is our bearing, and what you need is a piece of piping or something that will catch the race, essentially. See, you want to catch the inner race. Obviously you don't want to be touching this outer cage because you'll destroy it, so touching on this inner race, but not so thick that it doesn't clear the shaft itself. So that will go on top of there like so. Okay, this I will give you measurements of this piping in just a second. It's going to go on there like so, and that just catches the inner race there without interfering with this outer one. And you can see I've got this wooden puck that I actually used to move the 109. This is the puck to go on the front suspension. So I added a piece of wood just so we don't run out of room on the ram. So we're just going to press that bearing back on there. See, that's still being able to spin there, so let's say this is a 20-ton press. You can get smaller ones. Alright, we're bottomed out there. That off. So the bearing's pressed on there now. Let's suppose you want to get that bearing off of there. Little adjustment. What I use is this bearing splitter here. Okay. Now, I have taken this bearing on and off just for this demo purposes, and whether you're going to be able to save this bearing for future use is another thing, but more than likely you're going to be replacing the bearing anyway, so because this does have a chance of wrecking the cage. Okay, so this has been off with this and it hasn't done any damage, but just to be on the safe side, it's probably best just to replace the bearing and race anyway if you've gone this far. So what we're going to do now is essentially the reverse. Get a piece of wood here, get these under the, rather than doing it that way, that puts stress on these bars, do it that way. Okay, and we'll use our cap again on top of there, something like that, whatever you got lying around really. Obviously I'm using wood up there so you don't damage the thread. That's the last thing you want. And essentially we're just pushing the shaft out of the bearing. There you go. Done. So you can see that's in real time. Not really rocket science, is it? Hold on a minute. There we go. So you see the bearing still moves around, and I don't see any damage to the cage, but once you've gone this far anyway, you'd be replacing this bearing anyway, wouldn't you? But let me talk a bit about what other methods I've seen. Get this out of the way. I've seen people heating these up, you know, in the oven to, you know, 300 degrees or something like that, 250, 300, coming out with oven mitts, and then putting this shaft in the freezer overnight. And literally all they do is, and this is if you haven't got a press obviously, and all they do is plop, and it just plops straight on. That's a very kind of straightforward way of doing it, isn't it, really? Right, so that's one method. And another guy I saw just hacking at this cage basically and breaking it all up and making a real performance out of it. I don't know why he did it that way, seems a little odd. So that's that. And also I saw some guys heating this up to, oh man, they had this thing glowing red and dropping it on. And from my understanding, to do something like that, you're going to change the makeup of the steel and possibly cause what's called embrittlement in the bearing. And I don't think they're designed to get up to glowing red. That just seems like you're asking for trouble, that. So I think this is the most reliable way of doing this. As I say, you've obviously got the expense of a press, but if you're doing a lot of this work, press is kind of invaluable, bit of a kit really. Okay, so as I say, on a lot of other pinion shafts, other manufacturers, they shim them here, right here, drop the bearing off, and then obviously the thickness of shim dictates the position of this bearing in relation to the ring gear, so that moves this in and out, doesn't it? Right, so like that. But Mercedes aren't like that. They're just pressed straight on, wallop, and then the race that this rides in is shimmed. And we've talked about that in past episodes. You know, that tool I made to remove the bearing race in and out, so if you do need to do adjustments. So hope you got something from that little video. Pretty straightforward. And treat this with kid gloves, don't go dropping it on the floor, that would ruin your day. So while we're at it, we're going to set the new bearing on the shaft. So obviously I'm not going to reuse this. This is, who makes this? Timken bearing, made in France. I think they're made all over the place, but anyway, that's we're not going to reuse obviously. And this one I got from the Classic Centre down in Irvine, I think it is. And as I say, this is the inner bearing on the 6.3 pinion shaft. Now I'm not sure that this is unique to the 6.3, but here is the, make sure you see, there is the code number if anyone wants it for reference. So obviously the race has already been set inside the car, inside the housing, and this is a brand spanking new Timken again, French again, look at that. So French Timken bearing, brand spanking new. What we're going to do, we're going to put a little oil, gear oil, on the shaft to help it along its way. We'll just put a little of that on there. Can't hurt, can it? On this. Get that on there. Tube on there. Make sure that nothing's obstructed. I mean, you can obviously get this done at your local machine shop, I'm sure, just for a few bucks. Probably charge you, I don't know, 30 bucks or something, 30, 40 bucks to do this, but if you're doing a lot of this stuff, make sure we're a lot. So there's our new, make sure that's bottomed out. Lovely, so that's all on there now. We've got this bearing splitter. It's a fairly large one. I think it's graded at like I don't know what, 5.5 inch, 4.5, 5 inch one, but it's a big one and kind of a handy tool to have, you know, very heavy duty one. So picked that up about 30 bucks. Now what I'll do now is heavily lubricate this, put it in the thing, and then we can put on our outer bearing, right? That'll get pressed on. As I say, we've got a crush sleeve that goes between this and this bearing, and that gets crushed with quite a bit of force to be able to attain, I think now from memory, 12 to 15 inch rotational inch-pounds of rotational torque, while this bearing is sitting in the differential on its TOD, on its own, without anything attached to it. So that is the next thing we're going to do. I'm going to get around to it, but I'm still pressing on with my body work. This was just a few minute video I thought I'd put together, showing you pressing on the bearing. As far as diameter of this push pipe that I have here, that looks like 1 3/4 inch diameter. Okay, and as far as wall thickness, 3/32 by the looks of it. 3/32 if my eyes don't deceive me. So, and this is just 6 inches long. So there you have it. Okay guys, thanks a lot for watching. I know it was a quick one, but I thought I'd like to just show as much of each steps of the progress on everything really, as much as possible. So please hit like, share, subscribe, and got a car show to go to tomorrow, 4th of July on Monday. So 3rd of July we're going to a little car show local here. Probably only me and Matthew and Urban there with our Mercedes, but maybe we'll meet up with some other owners and extend the group. So I will probably shoot a little video for that for a bit of fun. And videos coming up of our rescue of the 300D that Matthew ended up pulling out of the weeds locally here. So thanks again for watching guys. Please hit like, share, subscribe, and have a great 4th of July. Bye bye.